It's Talk Erie and the Joel and Natalie Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. Certainly all right with my friends from, 45 years now.
Oh, my God. Have we done this? Is that where we are?
This is where we,
Wow.
I mean, when you said that you were a freshman in 82, so that's that's 43 years ago when I met you.
Can you believe it?
Because I met you right away. And I've known this one for 50 years.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
absolutely.
You know?
Doing theater together?
Yeah.
And I've known Shaney for, when were you, what year were you? I should never ask a woman her age, right?
Yeah.
What was that? 93 I started at Cannon.
Wow. Yeah, because I'd only been there for a couple
So
of
then
years.
I've known Shani since she was in high school because she was the guard.
That's true.
The color guard.
Captain?
Captain,
Oh,
yes.
Oh,
And
my
I did a terrible job choreographing a marching band group of girls that were dancing. Rob Chase would go, they need to be over there. And I'd go, okay, run.
Jazz, yeah, like jazz run.
Jazz run.
Jazz
All the way
run.
across the field.
I can choreograph
Yeah.
on 30 feet, not 300.
I guess we should introduce our guests here. Father Shawn Clerkin, Almi Clerkin, again, the first family in performing arts here.
We have so many first families.
Yeah, we do.
We could be
yeah.
a first family. How's that?
All right,
That's awesome.
right off the bat, favorite role, high school, college, community theater, professional theater.
Go for it, Sean.
Okay, I think the role that was most satisfying was doing Jean Valjean in Les Mis, only because it was so demanding and it was so much work and it paid off. You know, every night you get. There were moments where the music would start dun 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 dun, and we'd be backstage behind the curtain thinking, oh, the next 3 hours are going to be really painful because it just was so demanding. But it was also an extraordinary relationship within the cast, within the crew, with the orchestra, but also with the audience.
And the intimacy of the theater with 500 seats instead of being in a theater of 2,000, 3,000 to see Les Mis. People told us that all the time. They felt like they were part of it.
Absolutely. A good friend of Joe Grulick's from New York had come, and she at intermission was calling all of her friends saying, I am watching the best production of Les Mis I have ever seen.
My gosh.
And part of it was because we're literally right in each other's spaces.
Yes.
So one of the great gifts of the Playhouse and all of our performing spaces here in Erie, I think, and even the Warner at times, is that you're so close to everybody. There's an intimacy between you and the audience, and it's really close. And that kind of power, but definitely that role also. I mean, it's a beautiful role about somebody who does the right thing, even though it's not necessarily the legal thing,
right?
In order to save somebody's life, and in order to feed the hungry and to keep things. I mean, it's such a powerful role,
Oh, I just remember sitting there just weeping at the end of that. I mean,
us too.
I mean,
gosh. True. I mean,
Very emotional.
And we had seen it. We had seen it at the Kennedy Center
when we were 22 years old. We saw it. We were 22, and then 27 years later, we were in it.
Right.
It's one of those shows that they would keep on Broadway, of course, and touring companies and community theaters are kind of at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to shows released because we don't charge as much for tickets, certainly.
Right.
So anyway, we were lucky to see it at 22 because that was an out-of-town tryout before New York.
Right before I went to New York. And we did the same thing. We called everybody at intermission saying, buy your tickets now. This is the most extraordinary thing we have ever seen in our lives. And then we waited for it to be released for rights and royalty.
Right.
And so we're looking at the rolls going by, and it's like, oh my gosh, before we get to it, I'm going to be playing the bishop. At some point
Pat Thiem was the oldest, so he played the bishop.
Yeah. Yes.
awesome.
On his birthday, we're poking fun at Pat. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Pat.
Yeah, but that was probably my favorite experience.
How about you, Al?
Well, actually, you mentioned high school, and I was really, really blessed to do Godspell our senior year. So we're...
It's amazing. I saw both of these productions.
That's really cool.
Because I went to see you
Right.
at Villa as Jesus in God's
Yeah, because you were a freshman in college by then.
yeah, probably,
So,
yes.
Yep. My brother Sal's lucky that he and Joel were in the same class, for sure.
That's
But Shawn and I have shared that role, so we're hoping someday our son does it. But yeah, it was
that'd be
all-girl
cool.
cast, and we did a show every other year. when we were in high school. So not now, like they do 2 or 3 a year.
2 or 3 a month, it seems like.
Seamus did 17 shows while he was a prep in 4 years.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So they were so busy. So, but anyway, so we were very lucky, and my lifelong friends were in it.
Exactly,
Linda Bucci, Peggy
yes.
Schneider, Terry Bowen.
yeah.
I mean, just
Lisa
it was,
Kozar, all
it
of
was a
them.
blast. And I still have people come up to me and say, "That show was so good," and I'm like, "You've seen others," and that
it
was
was
45 years ago.
And
yeah.
was directed by the
John
recently-
Burton.
Yeah, John Burton.
John was
Unreal.
my
Yeah.
very
Alright.
first theater director at the high school. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
This is a good time to mention John.
Sure,
because,
absolutely.
We lost him much too young.
Right.
67 years old. He passed right after Christmas.
Right, literally,
26th,
on the
yeah.
26th in the
26th.
evening of the night. Yeah, he was. And John was. I got to know John doing Superstar at Gannon in the spring of '82, and then had a chance to sing with him other times, of course, and just perform with him. And I think that John was such a bright light. He was such a force, tour de force. Actually, he had an extraordinary voice. He was an excellent dancer, powerful actor. He was the kind of person who was very collaborative as well. And so, I mean, he had no problem being the lead in a show, but he also had no problem being in the chorus. I mean, he was always
enjoyed everything.
whatever you had to do,
Yeah.
or even conducting, or even choreographing and stepping back, or assistant directing. He just assistant directed Frozen, which is having its final weekend here at the Playhouse. So he was. That's who he was. And in some ways, I think. If John is also, he burned so bright that he had to burn out eventually. I mean, I think John would never have been the kind of person who would have aged gracefully. He even we talked about that. He did not like losing his capacities. You know, it was hard for him to not be able to do what he had done so well for so many decades. Really,
Generations.
Generations.
We kind of
absolutely.
figured out he worked with 3 generations at the Playhouse.
Wow.
I mean, we were blessed to work with him, but he had a generation before us, and our son was side by side with him on the stage.
That's
as a young
unreal.
20-year-old man with John. So I'm very fortunate. Anyone that's had the opportunity to be in his presence, right? We can enjoy the beauty of his talents, the kindness of who he was as a person, and funny as heck.
Funny,
right?
naughty,
direct as
naughty
heck.
in the right way. You know what I mean? It was just.
And
John
direct.
all of
He
it.
was direct. He
was
told
direct.
it like it was. So
I got a chance to perform with him for Prince of Egypt.
Yes,
in
yes,
the spring, and that had been that's the first show he had done in a while at the Playhouse.
Right.
And I remember chatting. It's like, I was saying, one of my first brushes up against community theater was when the Mercyhurst College took over the prep school's cafeteria to do You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown
Yes.
as a dinner theater.
Yes.
And he says, yeah, I remember that. I was Charlie Brown. Like 1978.
oh my God.
Unreal.
Wow.
When
Yeah,
Warner was in there.
When he was first in Erie, when he first came to Erie
Yeah.
from Philadelphia.
Unreal. I'm like, just kind of gives you shivers. Yes, and 3 generations have enjoyed him in his excellence, and we just will miss him. Again, he stepped onto the stage at Prince of Egypt as Seti, as Ramses' father, and commanded like the Pharaoh would command.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he knew how to embody a character. That's for sure. And but he could also play silly as well as serious. His work in Canterbury was always extraordinary. Oh wow. He could do the serious stuff, and he could also be a buffoon, and he was comfortable in all of those roles.
Amazing, amazing.
And and you learn from people like that. Obviously, you can be amazed by his talent, but you can watch John perform and say, "Oh my gosh, that's something I could try," or maybe incorporate into a character or a choreography. Right? We always did. What did I do for him? Oh, every show I would do, I'd throw a tourgetée in because he liked tourgetées, and I'm putting this in for John Burton. Yeah.
But he could also, like, he'd be singing and he could intentionally sing the wrong note, like Old Man River, and he'd do that while you're singing next to him, and then he'd look at you with this twinkle in his eye, like, you're right, I'm a quarter tone sharp, and I know I'm doing it, and I can.
And I can.
Also, you know, he could, and then he'd sustain it. Oh,
And
my gosh.
you of course were at his celebration of life, Joel,
Yes.
which was beautiful. And you think about him being at St. Jude for 37 years as a cantor.
See, I did
And in
not
the
know
choir.
any of that about him.
I didn't know it was that long. I didn't realize it was that long. Now I knew, as Tricia mentioned to the congregation, and if people were
Talking about
lucky
Tricia
enough
Yates.
to say,
Yeah,
sorry,
Tricia
Tricia
Bruce
Yates.
Yates.
Yep.
Are part of the ministry
the choir,
there. Yeah.
right? Yeah, she would say, you know, how he would. He did all those services prior to when he died, and that was, you know, 4 funerals, 2 rehearsals, 3 services for Christmas. You know, he is probably the most called upon person to sing at weddings and funerals, easily. Yeah, and then I think the most moving thing for me that day was when his wife Sue was generous enough to share his performance of Ave Maria. I'm sorry, not performance, his presentation of it.
Yeah,
and
the
his,
recording that he had made for her. Yeah.
for her for an anniversary or something. Yeah. And we were all, there's an audible gasp in the room when Shawn mentioned it at the end of his eulogy for John. And and it was beautiful. It was better than I ever could have imagined. You know, tears in the eyes, but it was almost joyful too to hear him. So
right, and John would be the first to say that he was one of many gifted performers in the city of Erie, and not just about theater, about music, about art. There are so many great artists in this city who are dedicating their talents and their gifts and sharing them with one another in our community. And he would both want to accept the accolades, but he would also say, "And I'm one of many." He would definitely point the finger in other directions as well.
Isn't it a joy, though, that we are in a community like this where, you know, someone from Johnsonburg or someone from Philadelphia can come and just share their gifts. I believe they're God-given gifts.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
And
that'll preach, Joel.
That'll preach. and actually be someone that's known. Like, I mean, again, let's face it. When you're a performer, you don't forget my name, right? And so we have John Burton and Shawn Clerkin and Almi Clerkin at the tips of our lips because you've earned that.
Right. Well, I have a tough time accepting that.
Yeah, I do
know what
too.
I mean? Just because we just do what we do,
Mm-hmm.
and we're very grateful to have the playgrounds in town that allow us to do that and do that safely and to do that creatively and consistently. I mean, that it is. But it is. You know, it's interesting though. As you were saying that too, the hard part. And John and I talked about this too, is as we mature, the roles we hope to play are replaced by a list of roles we're now too old to play. You know what I mean? And
You'll never be Tony again,
never
brother.
Again. No, absolutely
remember,
not.
he wasn't quite Tony when he did play it.
Yeah, they had to
you
shave
have to
my
tell
eyebrows
him.
and color my hair.
Tell him about Robin Dial.
Oh yeah. So Robin Dial. So in my
wait.
eulogy, I mentioned that in my very first review for the Playhouse, Robin Dial and Don McQuaid were the 2 reviewers for the Erie Times. This is back in the day when they did a Thursday review and a Saturday review, right? And so you got a lot of good feedback from people. And so I had mentioned that she was not complimentary toward my performance in the show.
This is in West Side Story.
This is West Side Story. Yeah. You know, she said I was as romantic as a goldfish in a bowl and some other things. And Don McQuaid said, you have the face of a Gerber baby. You belong in a Gerber baby food jar and not necessarily. And John called me Gerber for 40 years. This is absolutely true. But then I get a text message, a Facebook message from Robin Dial because we're Facebook friends. Yeah. And she said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "thank you for the shout out, but I have to tell you, if you were a goldfish, you were a glorious goldfish." And I thought, oh, thank you I said, I've come to really appreciate her. But she was also, anytime there's a critical response to anything that we do, I mean, our first reaction is, so you think. I mean, but in reality, we're all degrees of completion, and I'm not interested in what's good. I'm interested in what's missing. You don't drive your car when it's making noise. You don't drive it into the shop and say, hey, what's right with my car?
Right.
You say, what's wrong with my car, and how can I get my car to run more efficiently? And I think, so the critical response as artists is also, it's a little delicate. But I was very grateful that she watched. She loved the whole entire dedication to John. But she also listened to the eulogy.
That's
and took the time
amazing.
to send me a message. And I was like, oh, thank you for being gracious enough to let me, do a shout out to you.
That's funny. You know what the other thing is too about the critical responses is you notice we don't have reviews anymore. There's several reasons probably why we don't that are more financially driven.
Yeah.
But people can't take them anymore. And as you guys know, when you do a show, both you and Shani, we don't have time to keep patting you on the hand, going, "You're doing great, you're doing great." It's like we have to fix this. This has to be fixed before an audience sees it.
I mean, notes are very rarely. Maybe they're like 15%. That was a
Maybe.
good thing,
Yes.
and 85% don't do that again.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I think it's a part of it's in the general response to any kind of criticism. The word criticism has such a negative connotation now, where criticism
yes.
is really about assessment. It's about, what am I doing well? What can I do better? And the better stuff is hard for us to hear anymore. I don't know. I think maybe maybe it was because it was a little exploitive at times, maybe in our past,
Yeah,
where people
I
were
mean,
a little more aggressive than they needed to be.
We've been around so long.
Yes.
I had plenty of directors screaming at me.
Oh, yes. And
as an 18-year-old. We got to
Right.
take our first
Let's
break
do that.
here. We are talking to Shawn and Almi Clerkin about the arts and certainly a significant year in them here in Erie, Pennsylvania. Stay with us. We're talking about the year in the arts. We've got Father Shawn and Almi Clerkin with us here. Let's get caught up on your careers, guys. First off, Almi, you are still working with the Sisters of St. Joseph. Talk about that.
I am so lucky to be part of their Mission and Ministries Foundation. We do lots of good things during the year, and I think the one they probably hear from the sisters and from us the most is the Thanksgiving Day dinners.
Okay.
Last year we delivered 1,300 meals. This year we delivered 1,750 meals. So the need was great. And matter of fact, in a couple weeks we have about 60 nonprofits that we then turn around, and all the money we raised goes right to these nonprofits that feed people year round. Wow. So that's exciting because we're the Mission and Ministries Foundation. We support the Sisters Ministries, Neighborhood Network, St. Patrick's Haven, St. James Haven in Meadville, and we are officially the foundation is also officially one of the Sisters Ministries.
Okay.
And then we do like-minded organizations. So right now what we're doing are the people that feed people year round. But then I think in a few years, we'll probably move a little bit more forward and support some other people as well. So
Fantastic.
I love it. Love it.
Again, food is the basic. It's the
Yes.
essential.
Yes.
Father Shawn, how about you? Where are you at?
I am the vicar of St. John's Episcopal Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania. I've been there for 4 years. I'm in my 5th year now. I can't believe 4 years already. It just flew by. It absolutely did. And so I'm serving there as their priest in that church. But I'm also building a regional ministry. We call it Collaborative Oil Region Episcopal Ministries, CORE, C-O-R-E. It's a nice, recognizing the heart. But it's also recognizing that in many of our denominations, we're finding that some smaller congregations, but still vital, need the kind of mutual support of one another. And so we're building a relationship with Meadville, with Christ Church Meadville, St. James Memorial in Titusville, St. John's in Franklin, Christ Oil City, and also the Memorial Church of Our Father in Foxburg.
Oh, wow.
And so we have a 5-church affiliation right now, and we try to support each other. We try to be present with one another's ministries, and we try to get together when we can over the holidays. And
Talk about the concept that our Episcopal bishop, Shawn Rowe, becomes the
Presiding bishop.
presiding bishop of the
Grand
United
Poobah.
States.
The
I
Grand
didn't want to say Grand Poobah, but it sounds like it.
It's
It
kind
is.
of like that. Yeah, so in the Episcopal Church, we are, all of our bishops are essentially the head of our church, and they are in relationship with other bishops within the National Episcopal Church. And they elect somebody who is their voice, their presiding bishop, who presides over all of the meetings of the House of Bishops, and then represents the church at the Anglican Communion worldwide. And so that's who Shawn Rowe is. And he comes from our own diocese. He went to Grove City College. He's his first and only priest church was St. John's, where I'm serving right now. He was elected from there to be the youngest, at that time, the youngest bishop in the Episcopal Church, and he's the second youngest presiding bishop now, representing the national church. And so that's where he is. So his offices are in New York, his seat is in Washington, and his heart is Washington, D.C., and his heart is all across the country. Yeah.
That is a phenomenal thing to have, that kind
From
of
here, yeah,
leadership come from
absolutely.
Erie,
Absolutely.
and how that would inform him throughout his ministry. Here,
And I think in many ways, Erie is kind of a microcosm for what's happening.
Well,
across
we're the
country. We're there.
swing county and the swing state politically,
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeehaw! Do we have
get to watch
be?
all the commercials.
It's right, and we get targeted by every marketing firm in the world, right? Because they're trying to manipulate us.
my
But
gosh.
yes, but we're also pretty savvy, and Shawn represents that too. I mean, he's very much he would say that he is militantly moderate. I think is one of
okay.
the phrases I've heard him use, quoting
with
Beautiful
priest of the
sermons,
diocese.
beautiful thoughts. His wife Carly and his daughter Lauren, they're in Erie. Shawn gets home as often as he can.
Yes.
To see them. And we've been blessed to work with Lauren at Erie Day School because Seamus does the shows there. And for the last 4 or 5 years, so we've known her since she was really in 3rd grade, and she's in 7th grade now. I keep thinking she should be in high school.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. She's
14 going on
wonderful.
40.
Yeah,
she's one of the wisest children I know.
Hey, she read at his national
Did she
his
really?
What did you call it?
Or his installing.
Oh my God.
installing. Yeah.
We've
Awesome.
got to go to bottom of the hour news break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about kind of a survey of kind of some of the things that you guys have gone to. You go to a lot of shows. We'll get an idea of where we're at in this realm. Now we're 5 years post-COVID, and so that has made an impact on performing arts. You are tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. 4:34. It's Talk Erie and the Joel and Natalie Show live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, also live on YouTube and Facebook. We're having the crucial conversations that Erie needs, and today is just a joyful one as we talk to Shawn and Almi Clerkin. They're with us here to talk about the arts. We're making this a annual event where we.
Oh, that's cool.
You know.
I will bring baked goods next year. I wish I'd known.
Do you really need baked goods? Because I know I don't.
No. And
Carbs are on the limit. You know.
I'm on a carb diet.
And I'm on the Zepp. I'm a Zepper.
Remember, we live in 2 different houses, so it works.
Wouldn't you like to be a Zepper too? Be a Zepper.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
It just came to me.
All right, so I asked you about favorite roles in your career.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what was the highlight, or what was a moment on the stage that you saw this year that just kind of knocked your socks off. And I know that's a hard, but give it some thought here. I thought Shawshank. I don't know. Was that even in 25?
I think it was last fall. It was last year.
I was going to say the summer play at the Playhouse. No, the fall one. The
Da Vinci Code?
Elephant Man.
Or Elephant Man.
It
Yes.
was excellent.
Yes.
They did such a wonderful job telling that story. They focused on the most important things, the storytelling, and I thought they did a great job.
I agree with you. Yeah, I thought, and Zach Flock, who's the executive director at the Playhouse, auditioned like everybody else.
Yeah,
was assessed like everybody else, and he earned the role. And I thought he embodied John Merrick beautifully. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting play because it's like 40 years old now. I mean, so it's been around for a while, but it still has an edge to it, and the way that it's presented. It's got some non-realistic things that happened during the midst of it, but I thought that was pretty extraordinary. Actually,
it was very good.
Yeah.
And the technical crew did a good job with that one because that was very hard to. I mean, when I talk tech, lights, sound, music, all of those things, and they did a really good job with that because that stuff is hard. It's probably some of the hardest things to do to bring the show together.
Right.
So.
Well, and I did not see this, but from word of mouth and everybody I trust, the Hadestown that the youth group did up at PACA this year was also laudable because of the quality of the performances, the attention to detail with that group, and also encouraging young people to be doing some contemporary work. So that also I would hold that one up as another excellent experience.
Right.
I mean, we'll start with our major assets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you got to say that the Playhouse and the Philharmonic have had incredible 2025.
great year, an absolutely great year.
And it's because people are there supporting us too, and that's we can't do it without the audience. You just can't. And it's nice that people maybe will give it a try, even and make that happen. And also the Philharmonic and the Playhouse find ways that people that might not be able to afford a full price ticket could also come with their family to introduce them.
Well, and I think the other thing that they've done well is they're not afraid of popular choices, and so we go to the Philharmonic because we want to hear something we've already heard or we are familiar with or something we love, but they're also good about integrating new works and new artists, up and comers as soloists and featured performers, and I think that's also good because you're building a new audience, but you're also building an audience that doesn't mind saying, you know what, I've never heard this symphony before, but it's the Erie Philharmonic, so it's got to be good, so let's go, and so but it's always a risk. And the same thing with the Playhouse and doing a show that they're not familiar with. Frozen is doing very well. It's an excellent performance. Our excellent performances very popular, but it's also a known quantity, and so it's going to draw people simply because of the connection with the film. At the same time, we want people to come just because we expect quality performances at all of our venues.
Don't you put those? I mean, isn't that just good business when you're in the performing arts to say, okay, yeah, let's go for when you're at the Phil, we have the Billy Joel guy come and sell out 2 performances, but then we have maybe the little more obscure symphony in the symphonic series, but you know what? You're right. With Daniel Meyer, they fill that they fill that building anyway.
We've come to trust him. We trust his
It's all
choices. We trust his leadership.
Yeah.
We trust that the quality of the performance is always going to be great.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing, though, but what's hard for us is if some people, again, back to the criticism, if there's something that you wish could have been better, and I don't have any specific thing
Yeah.
to say about that, but if there's any, that the theater takes a look at it, said, okay, how did we do with that performance? What could we do better the next time?
Mm-hmm.
So the people in charge have to stop and look at that and take the time to talk through that and do it better.
Yeah, we do. A lot of the theaters will do what's called a postmortem. Well, they'll talk about what were the strengths of what we just did, and what are the areas that we can improve on, and then what are the insights that we got from the experience, from the audience, from the performers. What are they telling us about this experience? And they're listening, I think, which is really powerful too.
Talk about again, we've had conversations. I've had conversations with Zach, with Dave Mitchell, with everybody about COVID and its devastating impact on audiences. We're seeing it in churches.
We're seeing it in movie theaters.
In the movie theater.
Yes.
Any kind of assembly is still being impacted to some degree. But at some point, there's 450 seats at the Playhouse, and there's a service area of, let's say, 300,000. If the performance is good enough, we'll fill all those seats.
Right.
For 9, 12, how much is Frozen? 20 performances?
Right. Yeah.
I had a lot.
Right, exactly.
I had a lot.
Well, and I think there's something that's important too. I mean, in our culture right now, we are so siloed into our own little factions and our own little teams. We only hang out with the people who eat fish. If we eat fish at the wedding, we only want to talk to the people who eat fish, or we only want to talk to the people who eat chicken. And we
You're
don't want to
so
talk
diplomatic,
with the people. We
Shawn.
don't want to talk about the people at the other tables. But the important things about these community arts experiences is I am sitting next to somebody I don't know. And I am laughing at the same things, and I am crying at the same things, and I'm excited by the story, and I'm empowered by the story, or challenged by the story, or liberated by the story. And that kind of community experience is essential for us to be able to walk together and do the good work that we have to do, which has to be done together.
Humans need contact.
Humans need contact, and humans need to break down those barriers. And one of the things about arts experiences, whether it be the Arts Festival or the community concerts or shows at PACA or shows at the Playhouse or Celebrate Erie, just even walking down the street and listening to a musician, is that we are all there hearing it together, and it does break down the barriers. We need more of that. And COVID did not help. We can see that in the kind of animosity that we have between ourselves. We see more of what divides us than what unifies us, and what unifies us is much more important than what divides us. And the arts have a way of pulling people together.
You were mentioning off air that Broadway's really having a time right now.
Right.
Are producers not choosing the right creative? I mean, again, we are seeing a bit of that in Hollywood. Huge stars not being able to do the tentpole studio pictures. They're losing tens of millions of dollars.
Right. Well, and my strong feelings about that too is that so many times it's about let's market or engineer the perfect piece that will earn so much return
many
on
focus
investment.
groups.
So many and what happens is when the artist is being driven by the box office as opposed to being driven by their own creativity. A creative work that is excellent will always draw an audience. The Broadway issues right now, they have these overproduced musicals and they're spending so much money into it, and they're bringing in film actors and they're paying them these ridiculous contracts and salaries. And what happens is they fail after 10 performances because they're trying to engineer a success rather than creatively create a success or create something. And what we're finding right now in New York is that the plays that used to be the ones that were a risk are now doing much better. Wow. Because I think the creativity is in the playwriting right now and not necessarily in the musical writing. Now there's good musicals, there's great things happening for sure. But we're going up in next month to see, we're going to see Ragtime, which of course is a tried and true, but it's also been produced sparsely on the Lincoln Center stage.
Okay.
And we're going to see the City Center production of High Spirits, which is one of these old war horses.
It's really old.
But it's a Noel Coward comedy musical, and so it's a beautiful version of this story that will hopefully spark new ideas and things. But it's creatively done.
Do you think this whole jukebox phenomena. It's just gone to heck with the joke.
I hope so.
Do we not have a songwriter? Is there no more Tin Pan Alley?
Right, and do we have to take some comedy that was popular on Netflix and now turn it into a musical in order to get people to go see it?
Which one's that?
I just pulled that one
you're
out of my
making
butt.
that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I just
I
made
get
that
it.
one up.
I will say I'm very much looking forward to here at the Playhouse Mean Girls.
Me too, actually.
Because
Tried and true.
Hadley's daughter, Shaney's daughter Hadley
yes.
is in it. My nephew Giovanni's making his debut. Giovanni Natali.
Oh, my
He plays
gosh.
the boyfriend.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah, so this is going to be a great show, along with many great performers, Maddie Penpeck and Julia Pulaski, and so on. We got to acknowledge, who's really kind of finding their time. I feel like PACA is finding their time, both as a performing, as a place to watch things, but also in its facility and just the concept itself. They're having their moment now.
Right.
A decade ago, Mark Tannenbaum stopped me over here at the coffee shop, and he said, "I have this idea." More than a decade now, and he said, "I have this idea of a place where performing artists and visual artists all come together as a collective, as a coalition, and they inspire each other, and just by being in the same space with each other." And it's so exciting to actually see his vision coming to fruition in this moment. So I think that PACA it's not just and it always wants to have that kind of creativity that's the most important part of it. Their success is not going to be determined by box office or sales. It's going to be determined by the way that it engenders creative output from all of the participants.
But they're also able to do shows like Urinetown, which the Playhouse cannot do.
A 50-seat house, you can fill it. And the Playhouse, the Playhouse has a cost, for just for staff and productions and everything.
Sure.
You have to have a minimum that you get there.
Oh, we know.
And so you have to pick the right.
Let's talk about what's going on at the colleges. Our good friend Emily is out there at
She's
Barron.
doing great work.
Dr.
Johnson up at Mercyhurst is doing great work. Jordan Wolf over here at Gannon is doing good things. There are things happening down at Edinburgh. I'm sure I'm less connected there just because I'm out of the loop right now. But it is exciting to see that these colleges are also offering opportunities, and they're finding their own little niche. You know what I mean? I think that each one is doing its own thing. They're not really transferable. Like a show that is successful at Mercyhurst would not be necessarily successful at Gannon, which would not be successful at Penn State Barron. Yeah, exactly. So I think that these directors are also finding what's best for their college communities, but they're also open to us as audience members to enjoy the good work.
They've got to be getting impacted though by just the reality of higher ed right now, where less kids in humanities. Remember, again, when we were in shows, it didn't matter whether you were a theater major or if you were an engineering or business major. If you had that flair, you had an audition and you probably got cast.
That's exactly true. And there are people who are studying it, and that's great. And there are people who are gaining skills by participating in the collaborative nature of creating theater or creating music or creating visual art, whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, they're definitely benefiting from the experience.
Yeah, because they've had that experience probably before, right? And they want to continue.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I couldn't imagine going to Gannon when we did and not doing theater again. And it wasn't my major. So, you know what I mean? So I think that that's important that the universities do that. And we're still back to the theaters. I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, everybody gets along. And everybody's still different. I mean, I even think of the station dinner theater, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's dinner theater, and you get to enjoy the show and enjoy the actors in 2 different ways, right? Serving you and performing. But Paul Urbanowitz and Regine opened their theater to all an act so that they can still do a show because their space had a fire. Yeah. So, I mean, people do get along and do their best to do that.
Right. So the Playhouse provides costumes and set pieces all the time to all of the other theaters and the academic theaters.
And we're coming up on school season now.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody does shows. No. Everybody does shows in the spring, I would say. Some in the fall too, but I think they're all coming up. And if you go to one, you'll see that talent.
I feel like there's been a changing of the guard when it comes to those those high school leaders. You know, again, I'm thinking of General McLean, Forever, Bruce Yates,
Yes.
Trisha Yates.
Yeah.
Retired
Now it's the younger generation. They're still
Art Martone's,
killing it.
retiring
Art
it.
Martone
And
retired.
Mercy Hurst.
And I guess it's AJ Maselli's daughter-in-law is running the gig up
That's
there.
right.
Oh,
Mercy's
Caroline.
Yeah,
Prep.
Caroline is there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we worked with her. We worked
At
with her at the
Villa.
Villa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very
that's super cool.
Well, you know, and from our perspective too, it's there's a moment where you get so excited when you see the next generation come along. It's also somewhat humbling. You know, I mean, it's like it's not me anymore, and that's okay. It's okay to let it go.
It does. This whole idea of being in our 60s
Right.
really catches up to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
No one told us that.
Yeah. Well, I do Stephen's ministry, and one of the things we know
Yes.
about maturing is how I like to refer to it.
Well,
We're
thank you.
maturing. You're like a fine wine. Is that I can still do what I did 25 years ago. It's just I can't do it as often, and I need more time to recover.
Yes.
The recovering.
The recovering is what it comes to.
Again, it looks like it's going to be a strong year in 2026 for performing arts. I want to talk about that mashup now.
Yeah.
Of like this immersive stuff, like what some of the John C. Lyons is doing. That's pretty cool. What Steve Tchaikovsky, these guys that are mixing visual arts and music and performances. I feel like we're still really punching above our weight for a community of 92,000 in the city and 260 in the county.
Yeah,
you know?
for us it's novel. It's been happening in the other cities. Robert Wilson's work in New York City. He's been doing those kind of mashups and those kind of integrated music and visuals for decades. And the kind of immersive things. There was a Tamara that was done in Erie or in New York. It was a play about 30 years ago, which was an immersive. They took a brownstone and turned it into an experiential murder mystery. And so these are the things that I'm excited to see them happening here, but I'm also excited to see them selling out. But again, we're not talking about 1,000 seats, but people are interested in engaging.
And those tickets are not cheap.
They're not, but people want to support it, and they want to also have those experiences. So I think what they're doing locally is, again, it's novel for Erie. It's not novel for the art scene, but I'm really glad to see that Erie is embracing it as well.
And again, on the business side, again, you were deeply involved, Almi. There is smarts that you have to bring to this, right? You have to give them a sure thing sometimes,
Right.
But you can also experiment, and so it feels like that the Erie audience is mature enough to make this happen.
Absolutely. And I think, too, if the artists like you were just talking about can bring that to schools, to younger people, too, I think we need to start building the next generation of the audience.
Right.
Right. It's very important. I mean, the youth theater at the Playhouse, just as an example, those audiences, it's hard to get kids and buses to get to school, to get to theaters and bring school kids. So I'm just trying to think, see, like an experience.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I would enjoy that. You know what I mean? I'm not sure my type of theater that I like. You would love it, Shawn. I mean,
yeah.
as
Yeah.
you love, things coming at you and different. And he sat in a factory and watched Kenneth Branagh play in what was it?
Macbeth.
Macbeth.
Oh my
I
God!
mean-
In a factory.
Well, it was
Oh, yeah.
it was at the Armory in New York
Yeah,
City.
Armory,
They took
excuse
the
me.
Armory and they turned it into the heaths or the moors of Scotland.
Yeah.
And when you walked into this dark, muddy space. It was. I love immersive theater. I really do.
And it makes me nervous.
Right.
So
right.
I have a little hard time with that. But to see the expense of those types of things, and that these young people are doing it or have been doing it for years, some other places, and that they can make it worthwhile for people to try it, and when they do try it, then those people will bring other people and move that way. So
yeah,
I think
and it's quality work they're doing too.
That's it.
It
It has to be quality.
It's repeatable and it's
we
quality.
have a beautiful. We've been doing some theater down at the Academy Theater, driving back and forth from Franklin to Erie for 4
We
years.
meet there.
We meet in
It's the
Meadville.
mid spot.
But we've done some theater down there, and they're technical theater people, that especially the set designer.
Yeah, Eric Zindorf is
He's
just
he's
he's a
amazing.
designer, and
Amazing.
he's done some great work.
And these young kids that we're working with, they're seeing this and what they could do, and
Right.
so it's and people love it, and we do it again. We're not professionals, we don't get paid for it. all the time, but it's a matter of we love it and we want to share it. And you people, the audiences that see people on stage, those people want you to be there. And we need you to be there.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
We just got a minute, and I want to ask about something that came up during the cast party for John Burton. I was talking to my friend Linda Smith, and she was saying something about people that poo-poo performance. They really need to try it.
Yeah.
Isn't that really the key here? Is that if you have that nugget, if you have that seed in your soul to go audition at 62 like I did,
Yes.
You've got to do it. You've got to try it. And even just for the experience, for the breaking through.
Community theater is based on the fact that we are not professional, but we love to tell stories. We love to sing songs. We love to move to the music. That's who we are.
And we love to make it happen with a lot of other people.
With other people.
Yeah.
And to show it off to our neighbors and friends and family members. That's what it's all about. Absolutely.
Well, and again, that cast becomes a family.
Yeah.
And with a place in a society where we're isolated more than ever,
Right.
where you're watching major motion pictures on a 4-inch screen to yourself in your earbuds, participating in a theater, in an orchestra, in what have you,
Art museum.
an art museum.
Exactly.
That communal experience is soul enlightening.
And we need to do it more. We need to spend more time with each other outside of our homes, away from our couches, away from our cell phones, away from our computers. We need to spend time with each other. And that's,
Father Shawn, Almi Clerkin, I love you guys.
Hey, we
Thank
love
you
Joel.
so
Joel.
much.
You're a good man. Thanks for all you do.
I appreciate it here. Go to our break. It's Talk Erie.